Happy to. Good morning, everyone, and I hope everyone had a nice holiday break. Today, we are in tune for a great discussion, but before we do that, I will pass it to Matt Bogosian, providing remarks from his road marks. So, Matt, the floor is yours.
And hey, Matt, you guys are on mute right now. If you could come up and if you've got an unmute button, you can press.
Great. How's that?
Perfect.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thanks, Michelle Burris from the Century Foundation, one of our BFFs, many BFFs across the country. I'm Matt Bogosian, Executive Director of the American Manufacturing Communities Collaborative. We're here in Austin, Texas, as part of the AMCC Roadshow. And this is our weekly 30-minute national call of stakeholders who are working in regions around the country to strengthen the manufacturing ecosystem and to make smarter products that solve problems. We have this call every week for 30 minutes to check in amidst our busy schedules. And we encourage people to put their names and affiliations into chat. There's a lot of chat that goes on. I'm explaining as we go to our new friends here in Austin about kind of the norms of the 30-minute AMCC national call. So it's building trust, relationship building, so here we go. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving with family and friends. Let's see. I want to hit a couple of things. Oh, I should summarize before this meeting. We've been meeting here in Austin to go through kind of the basic slide deck of what all of you around the country have been working on for the last 10 years about coming up with this a framework for how we strengthen manufacturing in key industries in regions around the country, all working towards sustainable development. And so, I think we're off to a good start. I want to thank you, Drew, for hosting the Texas. Well, Drew, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone here? Yeah.
Drew Chevrolet at the National Security Innovation Council.
And Drew has been critical in setting up the 3 stops here that we have. We'll talk a little bit about in a bit. As folks know, we have the 2 interventions every week with this 30-minute national call and the AMCC update newsletter. And then we have these occasional roadshows where we get to meet leaders that are all working in the manufacturing ecosystem here in Texas. So in a minute, we're going to go around, have these folks here introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their perch in the manufacturing ecosystem. I want to say thanks to Drew and also Larry Peterson of he's the executive director of the Texas Foundation for Innovative Communities, who helped us put this together. He also is the co-founder of the National Security Innovation Council. And of course, Drew Chevrolet, who just introduced himself. So let's see. Why don't we start here to my left? Tim, why don't you describe? You've seen the framework. You're now meeting folks around the country. Give them a minute about who you are, where you see yourself in the ecosystem, and we'll just go around the room.
Sure. Tim Sullivan. I'm the CEO of a biomedical company called Zateo Biomedical. We develop packaging and delivery device platforms for biomedical countermeasures, vaccines, and other applications. We have a small pilot manufacturing facility here in Austin. I also serve on the board of directors of BioAustin, which is the life science industry organization for Central Texas. And in both of those roles, focusing on advancing the development of manufacturing infrastructure here in this region is a central focus. In the case of Zateo, we've developed fill finish and packaging, very advanced fill finish and packaging technology for drugs and biologics. And the role at BioAustin is really to support the development of all of the companies that are innovating within that life science sector here in Central Texas.
And we've been talking about, yeah, how critical that is for the health manufacturing industry.
Crystal Reynolds with Bank of America Business Banking here in Austin, focused on supporting startups to businesses 50 to 100 million in revenues. Of course, part of a broader team nationally that does that as well. We work with a lot of manufacturers in defense, health, IT, components, transportation. Those are probably our main industry focuses.
Thank you.
Susan Child, one of the owners and business development at Cypress Technologies. We are a small business contract manufacturer located here in Leander, Texas, and focus primarily in the energy, robotics, and automotive industries.
Liz Sanchez, TechWrench. We are an innovator or like an accelerator that works with international companies and entrepreneurs internationally and brings them into Texas, mostly the Austin area for manufacturing and management.
Now let's say a little bit about trade. We were talking about trade.
Yes. So right now we are working with various nations across the globe that are looking for manufacturers here in the United States. The biggest issue that we're seeing is that we are unable to find key manufacturers, primarily in the Austin area, for the life sciences, biomedical areas, as well as drones for agriculture and defense.
Something we can come back to. Yeah, next.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Andre Buzato. I'm representing a group of companies based here in Austin, Texas. The product companies, a consulting firm called Angel Economics. We've been on the market for almost 3 decades now. We have worked with close to 700 cities in the US and worldwide, about 43 US states and a dozen of countries. We do primarily strategic economic development type of work. We help communities, domestically and international communities, to attract APIs. That's basically our core business at Angel Economics. And then we work with companies as site selectors or corporate site location consultants. We help them to identify and penetrate new markets, either here or overseas. We help them to negotiate incentives. We help them to get all the licenses and permits that they might require to operate in a certain market. And of course, the primary scope of our work as site selection consultants is to identify the best location. Our focus at Angel Economics is tech world, meaning with a focus on the semiconductor industry, with a focus on data centers as well as ICT, advanced manufacturing, and then energy, both conventional and renewables, and life sciences. The other two companies are more related to each other. We also have or run our own accelerator called International Accelerator. We work closely with almost 50 countries now. We bring their startups to Austin primarily. We train them, but we also have programs where we go to their countries and we train their startups there. We have currently about 50 portfolio companies from 24 countries. We are focused primarily on AI, tech, and SaaS. And the third company is our investment fund of $50 million, recently launched, where we invest primarily in AI-enabled startups. We focus exclusively on foreign-born entrepreneurs, meaning we bring foreign companies here to Austin. We incorporate them in Austin, in Texas, and we help them to scale their business on the American market. Thank you.
Great. Erica?
Erica Colston. I'm a consultant with TIP Strategies. We're a national economic development strategic planning firm. We don't work with companies directly, although we have in the past. But about 30 years in a lifespan of the company, working with cities, counties, communities across the nation. We started in Texas, so we have a pretty large presence in Texas, working with cities on their economic development strategic planning. As I mentioned, economic development organizations, some state agencies as well, some state associations. Our core partners kind of leading the firm are Tom Stelton, Tracy McDaniel. Some of those names are familiar to people on the call.
Great, welcome.
Thanks. I'm Jennifer Speed from Texas State University. I lead research development, which means trying to grow research and build partnerships. And Texas State is kind of unusual as a component of a system that also includes community colleges. Most university systems do not include that. So we touch on innovation, workforce development, training, and research.
Community college is critical. We hear that from regions all around the country. Now, Drew, talk a little bit about the Texas Chamber of Commerce Executives. So you're the executive director of the Texas Chamber of Commerce Executives. So this is a statewide organization, right?
Yeah.
So every state is organized differently, right? In terms of how they try to strengthen manufacturing. Talk
Yeah.
about how you guys do
It
it.
doesn't have any formal role with manufacturing. It's a collection of 250 chambers around the state. The National Security Innovation Council works on bringing innovation missions from DoD and Intelligence Committee. So that's really where that comes from.
Part of our conversation with Drew and Larry Peterson and others is similar to what we have in other states around the country. What are the state governments doing specifically to strengthen priority manufacturing industries? So that's a conversation that we're going to have at our other roadshow visits around Texas that we hope to go deep on. And folks on this call who are in states around the country are dealing with the same thing. We've co-created a webinar with the National Governors Association around this kind of work. You know, how is the state government everything? No, but it's an important part of the ecosystem, just like the national government. Is the national government everything? No, but an important part of the ecosystem of support. And our friends at CREC, the Center for Regional Economic Competitiveness, has done some work to try to set up an academy for training of state people around kind of the complex system of manufacturing ecosystems. Lots of good hard work happening, but state governments are relevant on many fronts. So next up, yeah, please.
I'm Lynn Chastain. I'm a consultant and I work with Drew on NSSC.
Tom McCoy with Cygent. We're a defense industrial base supplier of storage for government and looking at bringing that manufacturing from overseas to the United States.
Reshoring. Awesome. Yes, sir.
James Lee. I'm the director of UTRGV Center for Advanced Manufacturing Innovation and Cyber Systems, and we have three main programs. One is the EWD program, workforce development.
Yeah.
We do applied research and focus on manufacturing processes, and we also have incubation and economic development. So, I've been talking about our organization multiple times in this meeting. But one of the grants we have is from OLDCC. It's really a result of try to bring in some resources to our region to support manufacturing over there. It's not easy because I'm a professor. So we do lots of academic practice. There is a disconnection between university professors and the industry, right? There is a disconnection between industry and EDCs and so on. So in our region, I think there's a great potential. But in the meantime, we have to be able to, get people connected and working together. And like the America's Added Foundry Consortium, we were thinking about, in the beginning, we're going to build up tech hub, right? Tech demonstration hub to keep people excited about the new technology, be aware of AI, be aware of, additive manufacturing, which can be used for maybe metal casting, forwarding and so on to replace or to substitute that. And then we also talk about, the key workforce training program. There are so many workforce training programs in Texas, for example, and we've been working with College Station over in Brownsville to create a training program over there. But their training program, in my opinion, is very basic level. And, when we try to bring in entrepreneurs from other regions, they don't count that as a workforce training program. So however, if we do want to, develop those more tech-driven workforce programs, we need equipment, we need infrastructure, and so on. So there's a lots of work to be done. And also we want to focus on like robotics, PLC programming, and the industry level kind of training program. So this is not something we have as of yet. We have community colleges, they're doing a great job, but they also have limited resources. So I think that's the reason for me as a educator or professor. So I think we have to change certain things we doing in the past if we really want to build up a strong manufacturing ecosystem in different regions. And also in Rio Grande Valley, we have very strong space manufacturing, presence over there because of SpaceX, and we actually were able to reach for a few manufacturing firms to the South Texas region because of SpaceX, and we have natural gas, we have the LNG, we have the largest wind farm in Texas. It's not in Lubbock, it's over in our region. And if you go there, you're going to see lots of opportunity over there. But I just want to make sure, we have the well-kept secrets in the South Texas. We want people to go down to South Texas and invest, and there is a huge opportunity, and especially with the expected, risk tariff from Mexico or Canada. I think a lot of maquila, I don't know if you heard of maquila, they are the manufacturing for $1. Those are U.S. manufacturing operations. They set up their facility on the other side of the border because of the availability of labor and, back then, low cost. But now, we need to rethink with the AI, robots, everything going on, shall we reevaluate the cost structure if we are adopting those technologies? Maybe, our region is a better location if we have that kind of skill sets, like AI programming, that kind of thing. Is well-trained, workers available. Maybe it's better off to set it up here in U.S. And that's also what we learned when we are at Sweden, and they have a similar cost structure, but they were able to build some very advanced manufacturing systems over there, taking advantage on robots, AI, and this kind of thing. So really, in the end, what we plan to do is to, I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time.
No, that's okay, James. We'll kind of come back to it. I'm going to highlight
That's right.
your example. So when I was doing the slide deck for these folks here in Texas, we were talking about all of the different federal interventions that have happened over recent years. James here is from the Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program, that blue program that was set up by DoD to strengthen the defense industrial base. There's 23 regions around the country that have been federally designated there. And that program's coming to an end. Like every year, it needs to be reappropriated. So it's super important that there be new appropriations for that. A subject with many of the regions on this call have the same challenge. It's great to get those designations because it helps bring your stakeholders together, but you got to keep them together and operationalize important improvement. Last person in the room, please.
My name is Mustafa Malki. I'm a professor of economics and finance and entrepreneurship, part of Dr. Lee's team at the Koenig Center. And one of my roles, the Koenig Center, is to help incubate businesses using technologies that was developed in our labs. But I also have a very extensive network in Sweden, in Scandinavia in general, but our biggest part is in Sweden, and we have taken trips to Sweden to see what they are doing, because they do certain things a lot better than we do, and they've been doing it for quite some time. So we figured that it does not make much sense to reinvent the wheel if somebody's doing it, and we can partner with them.
That's an AMCC ethos right there, yeah.
Yes. And also we look for technologies that we can collaborate with them on. So since, as you know, Sweden is not a big country, population-wise, it's about 10 million people, 9 million plus 1 million refugees. That's, but it's one of the most innovative countries in the world. Actually, it ranks either first or second. Either Switzerland leads or they lead in terms of innovation. So we figured that a country like that, that's small with a relatively small market, cannot support and sustain, big corporations like Volvo and IKEA and so on. Eventually, they look for bigger markets, and the biggest market is the US. So we figured, through my network, is to co-incubate some of the companies, the tech companies that they are working on there, and try to have two presences, one in Sweden and their US presence here in Texas.
Well, we'd love to learn the lessons that you're learning from Sweden so that we can share them with the national audience. That would be fantastic. I mean, spinning out the innovations from universities, but also from our national labs are super important opportunities. David Van Sickler, our operations director, and I had the good fortune to recently go to Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, and they are very excited about getting their innovations out into the marketplace, as our other labs. We have a good relationship with Argonne National Laboratory. I was talking about that manufacturing community ecosystem metrics project. They are now getting into economic development, Argonne National Laboratory. So it's very exciting to see how we can all move farther faster. There's plenty of good hard work to do. Every region can add value. We got to get away from this race to the bottom, our state versus that state. We've got to work together, and that's what this project is all about. So we only have a couple of minutes left, 6 minutes left. And David, I can't really monitor what's going on in the chat and whatnot, but let's open it up for if anyone's got questions or comments about anything that they've heard here from our friends in Texas.
Yeah, if anyone has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Great. Hey, everyone. Daniel Wehrman, CNC Career Network out here in California, Southern California. Just wondering, what are some of the main problems around labor that various people, anybody, this is for open question to the room. What are the problems around labor that you guys are having? I heard something from the junior college or the colleges about skill development and being misaligned with manufacturing over in Texas, but maybe from some of the companies, do you feel the same way? Or completely different? Turnover costs, whatever it is.
I guess.
Go ahead, James.
The number one challenge that I heard or told is lack of interest from the youngsters we have. And, most of the high school students, they have, been told, manufacturing this and that. They never, ever, seen a manufacturing operation in there, before they get to that point. So I guess what they know is farming industry. As a farmer, they know, maybe look around, they saw the doctor, they see the doctors and some other, restaurant and so on. That's what they know. It's not like kiddos in Austin. They grow up with lots of, access to the museum, this and that. So really, but one good thing is that no matter where they are, most of them, they have internet, they have computer, they play game. And so I think one of the things everybody agree in my kind of network, social network, is that we need to take advantage of the generation IPAC and then reach out to them as soon as possible. Don't wait until they get to the high school level. You should talk to them at the elementary school level, expose them with, so that's something we've been trying to do.
Yeah, in our roadshow, which we have reports about our roadshows, we've been learning about interesting tactics that different states are utilizing to get to, my shortcut phrase for this is getting to kitchen tables, right? How do you get to kitchen tables so early on, to your point, James, which is super important. We did a roadshow throughout Wisconsin. I don't know if Buckley Brinkman is on there, but but I think it was in middle school, we were up there, and they just have this annual event where manufacturers from the region all come and they do a demonstration, like an all-day activity where kids go to these different booths and learn what manufacturers are doing. In Pennsylvania, they have this great competition for middle school students to put together 5-minute videos where they small teams of them go out and visit a manufacturer and then put together a video about their visit, about the manufacturing process, and then they use that video to compete in a school competition, then a district competition, then a state competition. It's called Making Manufacturing Cool Again or something like that. All trying to get at the same problem that you highlight. Thank you for your question, Daniel. Yeah, it's a challenge, and I'm gonna ask after the meeting closes for tactics that our friends here in Texas utilize, so that we can add value to the rest of the national ecosystem. David, any other questions that are up there?
I don't see any raised hands right now. Oh, Michael Bell. Yes, would you want to unmute yourself?
Morning all. Yeah, Mike Bell in Sacramento. Part of an industry collaborative called Sac Valley Manufacturing Alliance. Dean Peckham's the executive director. Thanks for the invite. So I had a question for if y'all are familiar with any ETP, employer training panel funding that helps offset training costs for employers. If that's a mechanism or if there's a similar mechanism in Texas that you're aware of.
I don't know what ATP means, but there is a skills development fund that companies can apply to. And then there are 2 Texas Workforce Commission training funds for incumbent workers and then for new workers. One's at $750, the other's about $1,500, round numbers. So those are the 3 at the state level. Then you've got a number of regional workforce boards who have the ability to do partnerships, and community colleges, universities who have the ability to do partnerships.
Well, thank you for that question, and Drew, thanks for that response. We're at time. We keep these things very short because people are busy. It's a weekly thread of connectivity. Thank you for participating, and we'll be back next week. Let me send it back to Michelle to close out the meeting. Michelle.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you to our friends in Texas. Everyone, we are wishing you a wonderful week, and we will reconvene next Monday, December 9th. So thank you all so much, and have a great rest of the week.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.